schedule your appointment. That's 217-735-2317. SIU Medicine, forward for you.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police blotter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
From the Heart Media Group newsroom and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this expanded morning newscast. Good morning and thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Ben Hubbard. The news is brought to you by Baum Chevy Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters, as well as Connexus, offering fiber internet in Clinton. Click their icon on DeWittDailyNews.com to find out more. The DeWitt County Development Council is monitoring the nationwide boom in data center construction. On the WHOW Morning Show Monday, DCDC Executive Director Kurt Homan told the Heart Media Group he has received at least one inquiry regarding a proposed local data center to the DeWitt County Board. Because data center development carries significant community-wide implications, he believes the issue must be managed and believes the county needs to take up these discussions.
I mean, I will tell you, I've received at least one call, about a proposed data center. I pass that information, on to the county board. It's such a bigger issue than DCDC that really it needs to be at least handled or addressed in that area. But it's a big. They're popping up everywhere. So if if anyone follows the stock market or national news or those types of things, the reason that the stock market has continued to boom is because of artificial intelligence and data center builds. Okay. So if we think, and this is a nationwide level, if we think data centers aren't going to be built somewhere, we're fooling ourselves. So it is such a financial boom for companies. And so they are very actively searching for build locations.
While community discussions often focus on the negative impacts of data centers, such as heavy water consumption, noise pollution, and the conversion of local farmland, Homan points out the underlying technology is rapidly evolving.
And it is interesting, the technology, a lot of the comments I see on social media, the technology will improve. And I agree with that, but it already has. So there's already a lot of variance in those things.
What do you mean by the technology has improved?
So I think some of the arguments against, data centers are water usage. I think there's some noise, they oftentimes are built where maybe there was farm ground that was there. And my understanding, I've researched and I've seen places that there's a high water usage. Then I've also researched places that a data center uses less water on an annual basis than an 18-hole golf course. So there's closed loop systems, very much like the nuclear power plant. The lake is there as a cooling. Well, it's not diverting water necessarily. It's just using that as a cooling system.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of misinformation out there. There's probably things we haven't even thought about, with data centers. But DCDC does not. We work with whatever the community gives us to work with, and that's where we go.
While the DCDC does not take an official position on data centers, Homan advises the county to engage in proactive planning. His primary operational concern is the potential loss of local zoning control to the state of Illinois.
I would advise the conversations, to sit down and what I'm really concerned about is losing local control over what happens with data centers. Right. So, the state of Illinois is really like a drug addict. It needs financial resources. And if the state of Illinois steps in and says, a data center may say, we have $30 million to allocate to the local community. If the state of Illinois comes in and negotiates those deals, they're going to take $29.5 million of that $30 million. DeWitt County or other areas will have the data center there. They'll have no say on what type of data center it is, what type of are they using that closed loop facility. You lose that say, and then you also lose a big substantial financial benefit. If you're forced to have the negative impacts of any of those projects, you ought to at least get some of the positive impacts with some of the financial resources that come along with that. But if the state steps in and says, no, you're going to have all of the negative impact, and the state of Illinois is going to keep all of the positive impact. That is a no-win situation for every area.
The DeWitt County Board at its May meeting shot down a proposal to move forward in planning for data centers through the Zoning Board of Appeals process. The issue was widely rejected by the public. Coming up shortly on this expanded newscast, planting season almost wrapped up in central Illinois. A Piatt County school district has recently been test running some new initiatives that they are now planning to make permanent. Monticello School Superintendent Adam Clapp explains that over the last year, the district has been piloting some new electives into the middle school curriculum, all of which he says were extremely popular with the students who participated in them.
Yeah, so at the middle school, we piloted electives this year with a middle school fitness class, middle school ag, and middle school Spanish. They all went extremely well. They were very popular. We just chartered our middle school FFA and had a dedication earlier, late April. So that was cool. So we will have a middle school FFA chapter and a high school FFA chapter. They'll work together at times, but they will be separate groups of students. So that's really exciting. The fitness program was very popular. Our kids got to learn the foundation and fundamentals of fitness and cardio and weightlifting. It's not like we're going in there and powerlifting. We're going in there learning true form and starting out with no weights and or just body weight and learning form. So it was a really good exercise for our 8th graders. And then Spanish as well. This was an introduction to Spanish. It went really well. A very popular class. Mr. Johns did a really nice job with that.
The new classes were so well liked that Clapp indicates they will be making the courses permanent and expanding them to 7th graders in an effort of expanding the district's offerings for its middle schoolers.
And now those programs went so well that we are expanding it. 7th graders will get the opportunity as well next year, and they'll become permanent electives at the middle school. So Mrs. Klein, our ag teacher at the middle school, did an excellent job kind of gain the kids' interest. Mr. Rosenberry, he's our track coach as well. So he has a very good background in fitness. He got kids motivated. My daughters are 8th graders, so they were part of the pilot program. They both of them, the twins, took ag as an elective and fitness as an elective and enjoyed both of them. I did get to hear about the fitness workouts when they started to get a little bit harder than they're used to, but it was really good. And just kind of all 3 of these programs will lead right into our high school programs, which I think just make our high school programs even stronger.
The expansion of the Spanish program sets the district up for the incoming state mandate, which will require students to take at least 2 years of Spanish before graduating. Clapp does feel that districts statewide will struggle to find more Spanish teachers as that regulation rolls out.
Spanish is the only language we offer at the high school. If you go back to 7 or 8 years ago, we did offer French and Spanish, but the numbers in French kind of dwindled to where it became more of a part-time position. And then eventually there wasn't enough interest to keep it even at part-time. So we do just have Spanish as our one language we offer. And I would say, there's a lot of controversy at the state level, with the mandate of every student needs to take 2 years of Spanish by the time they graduate. I think that becomes a law in 2028 or 2029 with that freshman class. That will be a challenge because there are not enough Spanish teachers in the state of Illinois to fulfill the number of kids we would anticipate taking Spanish. I think down the road, that's something that may have to change just based on the number of candidates that are even out there. Monticello, we would, if that becomes real and there's no adjustment, we will do our best to staff that as we see fit. But that would be a challenge for a lot of people in the state, is how do we find Spanish teachers to teach according to that mandate.
Keep up with all the latest from Monticello schools by visiting sages.us or find the district on Facebook. You're listening to the WHOW Morning Show. Let's take a quick break with a word from our sponsors.
It's the quiet moments you count on. A call that connects instantly, a show that never buffers, a home that just works. That's the difference with Connexus Fiber Internet. We built a buried fiber network designed for consistency, earning us the title of top-rated fiber internet provider in Illinois. With plans starting as low as $25 a month and 3-year price lock options, it's reliability you can feel without the unpredictability. Because with Connexus, connection means everything. Experience better at Connexus.com. Nothing connects us like Connexus.
Baum Chevrolet Buick offers full transportation options while giving you peace of mind. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick here in Clinton. This is what we do every day. We listen to you, give you options for routine maintenance, major mechanical problems, or collision repairs with a staff that's knowledgeable to find the best option for you. Baum Chevrolet Buick, your full-service dealer. See us at baumchevybuick.com right from the start.
News time is 20 minutes after the top of the hour. You're listening to the WHOW Morning Show. Beneficial rains and timely sun this spring have allowed farmers to make great progress through the planting season. Reagan Tibbs, commercial ag educator for the University of Illinois Extension in Logan, Menard, and Sangamon counties, explains that corn and soybean progress reports are hovering around or are slightly ahead of the 5-year average of being 80 to 85% planted by this time of year. The same is true for emergence rates so far.
Absolutely. We've had amazing weather, definitely, especially with our Memorial Day weekend. We had some great weather, so I think a lot of producers were getting in the field. And so the latest USDA crop reports, normally those come out on Mondays, but because this past Monday was Memorial Day and people like you were out on the lake enjoying yourselves, the USDA pushed the latest report to this past Tuesday. So looking at kind of the state level data for Illinois, corn planted, we were at 86% of our acres in Illinois were planted. Soybeans were at 84%. When we compare those to our 5-year averages for corn, our 5-year average is 84%. So we're just right about that average mark for where we are this time of year. And for soybeans, our 5-year average is 75%. So actually a little bit ahead of that average still. And then when we look at the emerged, so of those planted acres, how many of them have actually emerged? Mm-hmm. For corn, we were at 68%, and at soybeans, we're at 61%. And looking back at the 5-year averages, our corn 5-year average is 67%. So again, we're right there at that average for corn planting. And soybeans, right now, our 5-year average is 52%. So we're still well ahead of our averages. And I think that comes down to, again, we had some really good rainfall in late April and early May, which those crops that got in the ground early got them a really good start, got some moderate temperatures in the early part of the month. So again, those are kind of the ideal conditions we would like to see when getting that crop started.
Things have been dry over the last 2 weeks, leading Tibbs to believe a little rain over the next couple of weeks could go a long way for producers. He notes this is a typical challenge for farmers this time of year.
I think now we're transitioning to last week, especially, we've had really warm temperatures, which is a good thing. We like to have warm temperatures moving into summer, so we expect that to happen. But when you combine those warmer temperatures with not a lot of rainfall, I think that's when we might start seeing a little bit of stress on these crops. And so we're just kind of monitoring and hoping we get just a little bit of rainfall in the next coming days. And hopefully we can get that crop off to, keep it off to a really good start. Yeah, I think obviously weather is the biggest one. That can affect our timing a lot.
Yeah.
Most producers, from what I've heard, not a lot of challenges in the way of getting in the ground other than weather. I think some of them A lot of them have already gotten their seed already figured out last year, or got their fertilizers figured out, because I think that was one big question mark, was how would the current conflict in Iran, the Strait of Hormuz, affect fertilizer availability?
Mhm.
Again, most of our producers, book out their fertilizer, book out their seed in the year advance. So
Mhm.
generally they have that on the schedule. I think what might impact producers now is if they need to get those kind of spot applications of fertilizers, things that, okay, we might see the crop needs a little bit extra help, especially coming into June and July. If they need to order that fertilizer on the spot, essentially, that might impact prices a little bit. That might affect availability a little bit. So I think when it comes to planting, we haven't seen a whole lot in terms of the way of challenges, but we still could see some coming into the growing year, especially when it comes to drought conditions.
Mhm.
We're still in the central part of the state. We're still not really within a drought scenario. Obviously, there are some areas that are dry, but when you look at the drought monitor, which updates every Thursday, the northern part of the state is starting to enter into a little bit of a drought, and the southern part of the state is in a drought. We're still pretty good here in the central part, but I think if we don't see any rainfall over the next coming days, might see those drought conditions start to creep in a little bit more.
Mhm.
Not as severe as we've seen the last year, thankfully, but definitely something might be a little bit concerned about moving forward.
Pest and disease control are also top of mind as more crops begin to emerge and producers transition to the growing season. Tibbs indicates that weather conditions are more conducive to pests and disease, so pressures have not set up in a significant way quite yet.
We could see that starting now.
Yeah.
A lot. We can see some diseases, some of our insects especially will come in early,
Mhm.
especially when we have a lot of rainfall at the beginning of the year that might see conditions really percolate. Black cutworm was something we usually look at. We get corn in the ground early and it's wet and it's really kind of just sticky overall. That's a really ideal condition for black cutworm. I haven't seen any reports of it yet. Not saying that it isn't out there,
Mhm.
but I haven't seen as much of it this year as we were concerned about it last year. But again, diseases is one of those huge things as well. They really thrive on those humid, sticky days where you walk outside and your shirt just like sticks to you or really feels nasty out. Those could be really some prime conditions for our diseases. So we may not see them quite fully, come to fruition yet. But as we get into the growing season, as we get hotter and more humid during the day, that's when we could see those disease pressures really continue to ramp up. I think right now we're still in a really good position. Driving over here this morning, crops look really, really solid. Starting to see some first cuttings of hay, which is really encouraging to see when we're getting to that part of the year. So definitely we're in a good spot. Get a little bit of rain over the next few days. I think we'll definitely continue to be in a good spot.
We'll hear more from Tibbs in the days ahead on the recently released crop budget and how producers can utilize those projections on their farm. In the meantime, learn more about the resources offered by the extension at extension.illinois.edu/LMS. Ag groups continue to follow issues stemming from data center developments. Patrick Giberson is a United Soybean board member from New Jersey. Farmers in his state have dealt with challenges from warehouse expansions, and now data centers are also in the mix.
As a farmer, go to your local board meetings, council meetings, whatever they are, and make sure that they're aware of these things and what's going to happen. We have some ordinances now that just got passed, actually in my township, no data centers. So once again, a little, too late, but it is being recognized now. So as farmers, have a voice in this, push the issue, because once again, the infrastructure is not there in these rural areas to begin with. And the people of the community are the ones that end up paying the tax increases to bring these companies in. And they get abatements and pilot programs and walk away in 20 years and move on to somewhere else.
Giberson spoke at the recent National Association of Farm Broadcasting Washington Watch event. Estate tax reform falls short in Springfield as the spring legislative session winds down. Chris Davis is the director of state legislation for Illinois Farm Bureau. He says the Family Farm Preservation Act remains a priority of the organization.
Unfortunately, yet again, the Family Farm Preservation Act failed to make it into any final budget package this year, despite extensive efforts of the state team, of the board, Farm Bureau members throughout the state. We had support of every caucus and sub-caucus in the General Assembly. We had the support of progressives, moderates, Republicans. We just weren't successful getting the Family Farm Preservation Act included in the final budget package. It's a little stunning right now. We'll take some time to reassess our efforts this year yet again, and we'll move forward to continue the effort to try to get a state tax reform in the state of Illinois. This is a uniquely Illinois problem that requires a solution.
Davis says the new state budget does not include any cuts to the Illinois Department of Agriculture, and soil and water conservation districts were funded at exactly the same level as last year. Get news anytime from your computer or your mobile device at DeWittDailyNews.com. That's DeWitt County's #1 source for news, sports, police blotter, obituaries, and more. Best of all, it's all free all the time at DeWittDailyNews.com. Network news is now.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. This is primary day in 6 states, and that includes in California, where there's the governor's race and the closely watched Los Angeles mayor's contest. Other states with primaries: Iowa and Montana, New Mexico, New Jersey, and South Dakota. 6 people have been killed in a mass shooting in Muscatine, Iowa. The police chief says it's believed that all of the victims were related to the suspect, who subsequently took his own life. A horrific interstate crash in Northern Virginia. Allegedly, it was caused by a non-English speaking bus driver, a naturalized U.S. citizen from China, facing a series of charges. President Trump is suggesting a U.S.-Iran deal could be just around the corner, perhaps in a week or so. Iran threatened to break off talks because of Israeli attacks on Hezbollah in Lebanon. The Dow futures down 239 points. More details at srnnews.com.
Maybe this is you too. There's enormous frustration right now with healthcare costs. It is amazing. Healthcare costs for families in the last 20 years have almost tripled, and it just keeps getting worse. All this to say, this is why MediShare is so in demand right now. People are looking for alternatives, and MediShare is proven you can save thousands of dollars a year and actually like it more. Over 1 million Americans are now part of healthcare sharing, and MediShare is the gold standard. It's trusted. It works. It's been helping people save money and have peace of mind now for 30 plus years. It's not some big impersonal thing either. It's a community of people like you helping each other. So yeah, if you're frustrated too, here's your chance to make a refreshing change. You'll notice the difference as soon as you call. They're easy to talk to. You can get a price within 2 minutes. Here is the number. Call 844-45-BIBLE. That's 844-45-BIBLE. 844-45-BIBLE.
From the Heart Media Group Sports Desk, IL Sports Wire, and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this local sports report. In high school softball super sectional championship scores from Monday, in Class 1A, third-seeded Wilmington shut out Meridian as the 1 seed 2-0. While in Class 2A, top-seeded Williamsville ended 6th-seed Bloomington Central Catholic's postseason run 6-2. And in Class 3A, top-seeded Chatham Glenwood routed 1-seed Washington 11-1. In a game heard on WHOW and all its digital platforms, Tristan Gray hit a grand slam in the 4th inning, and the Minnesota Twins added 4 more runs in the 5th on the way to a 9-4 win over the Chicago White Sox on Monday night.
Clemens bounces one at first. Gonzalez fires to Montgomery at second. The throw back, though, is high, and The throw back to Gonzalez at second, or rather to Montgomery, is in time. Wow.
Hello. They may want to challenge that, but what hustle by Gonzalez.
So Montgomery's throw back to Gonzalez went over his head. Jacob went to get it, and Clemens decided to go to second base, and they threw him out, and that'll end the inning. The 0-2 to Vargas. And he clubs one deep left field. It is gone. A line shot home run. He's hit 2 tonight. They're not done yet. It's 9-6 all of a sudden.
Have a night, Miguel Vargas.
Here, the second game in the Sox 3-game series with the Twins tonight on WHOW. Pre-game starts at 6 p.m. Jacob deGrom tossed 5 scoreless innings to earn his 100th career win, and Ezekiel Duran hit 3 hits as the Texas Rangers beat the St. Louis Cardinals 2-1 on Monday night. The 2-time NL Cy Young Award winner, the 37-year-old deGrom, is 4-4 and allowed 4 hits and struck out 8 in his 4th attempt at the milestone victory. The right-hander went 1-3 with a 5.72 ERA in 5 May starts and has not won this season when allowing multiple runs. Jacob Latz pitched a perfect 9th for his 8th save to help the Rangers win their 4th straight game. Michael McGreevy is 3-5 and gave up 2 runs on 5 hits and 2 walks in 6 innings after yielding 8 runs in 9 innings over his previous 2 starts. Mason Wynn lined his second home run of the season down the left field line off reliever Peyton Gray to cut Texas's lead to 2-1 in the 6th. Jock Peterson hit an RBI single up the middle to drive in Danny Jansen after Jansen walked, stole second base, and advanced to third on Nicky Lopez's single in the 5th to make it 2-0. Duran lined an RBI double to the left field wall to drive in Brandon Nimmo and give Texas a 1-0 lead in the 4th. Rangers right-hander Nathan Eovaldi is 5-6 with a 3.93 ERA and will face Cardinals right-hander Dustin May, who is 3-6 with a 4.57 ERA in the middle game of the series on Tuesday night. In scores from around the MLB on Monday, the Detroit Tigers beat the Tampa Bay Rays 10-9, while the Miami Marlins took down the Washington Nationals 7-3. The Kansas City Royals routed the Cincinnati Reds 9-2, while the Milwaukee Brewers romped the San Francisco Giants 16-2. The Colorado Rockies beat the LA Angels 9-8, while the Arizona Diamondbacks beat the LA Dodgers 4-1, and the Seattle Mariners took down the New York Mets 3-2 in 10 innings. The Tampa Bay Lightning acquired the rights to forward prospect Jack Pridham in a trade with the Chicago Blackhawks on Monday. The 20-year-old Pridham was selected by Chicago in the 3rd round of the 2024 draft. He was eligible to re-enter the draft if he didn't sign an entry-level contract with an NHL team or commit to a college by 5 p.m. Eastern on Monday. Tampa Bay said Pridham had committed to play NCAA hockey next season, and the school was expected to be announced in the coming days. The Blackhawks received a 3rd-round selection in the 2027 draft in the deal with the Lightning. Pridham had 46 goals and 44 assists in 65 games this season with Kitchener in the Ontario Hockey League. He also helped the Rangers win the OHL Championship and Memorial Cup. The Cleveland Browns traded the 2-time AP NFL Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett, to the Los Angeles Rams for pass rusher Jared Verse and 3 draft picks in a blockbuster deal on Monday. Garrett was the unanimous choice for Defensive Player of the Year last season after he had 23 sacks and broke the NFL single-season record. He is expected to report to the Rams facility on Tuesday and have a news conference to discuss the trade. Garrett's addition marks the first time the reigning AP NFL MVP and Defensive Player of the Year will be teammates. Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford won his first MVP award last season. The Browns get Verse, the 2024 AP NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, a 2027 first-round selection, a second-round pick in 2028, and a 2029 third-round selection. Verse's acquisition gives the Browns the past two AP Defensive Rookies of the Year. Carson Schweisinger won last season after leading NFL rookies with 156 tackles and 11 tackles for loss. The trade also elevated the Rams to Super Bowl favorites. A.J. Brown is leaving a frustrating experience in Philadelphia for a new reunion in New England with his first NFL coach. The Eagles traded the star receiver to the Patriots on Monday, putting a cap on the long-rumored deal. The Eagles will receive a first-round pick in 2028 and a fifth-round pick in 2027 for the three-time Pro Bowler. The trade comes after a frustrating 2025 season for Brown in Philadelphia, which he had grown dispirited with an Eagles offense that played uninspired football at times, while the team failed to defend its Super Bowl title. Brown played under Vrabel for 3 seasons after being drafted by the Titans in 2019. Get highlights of your local high school program by finding IL SportsWire on your preferred social media platforms, and get local sports anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com.
This is staff meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki with your regional radio forecast. Ample sunshine expected today with daytime highs approaching 82. Winds out of the east, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Clear skies again tonight, lows dip down to about 53. Sunshine expected tomorrow, highs level off around 83. Hear weather twice an hour or online anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com. Right now, 60.
Let's check Ag News on the RFD Radio Network. I'm DeLawes Yonke. Now in early June, National Ag Statistics is gathering information about this year's crop production, as well as supplies of grain in storage and livestock inventory